Hey everyone. All right, so I've got a few minutes before I have to go into a training session, and so I'm just sort of sitting out here in my car. That's why the lighting is a little bit weird here. And I wanted to talk with you a little bit about Halloween. All right, so Halloween is less than a week away, right? All right, so you have probably been seeing lots of Halloween decorations, sometimes big inflatable things, a lot of decorations in windows, displays, things like that. And you may have noticed that your dogs get a little bit weird when you approach those displays. I know a lot of my walking clients, they will get a little bit weird, especially as they approach displays that have things that move. Or if they have like big inflatable things that sort of wave in the wind and all of that, that can be a little bit off-putting for some dogs. And so I wanted to kind of take a minute and talk to you about that stuff because it's important that when these sorts of things kind of randomly appear in the environment, that we actually listen to our dogs and kind of respect how they are feeling about them. So what I'm talking about is, let's take this scenario for example. Let's say you're walking by somebody's yard, someone's front yard, and in their yard they've got a big display with, an inflatable skeleton and, a giant pumpkin and something like that, and it lights up and maybe some of the stuff moves. And as you get close, you notice that your dog starts to look a little bit nervous. Maybe they kind of make themselves a little bit small. Maybe they shrink back a little bit, try to hide behind you, or maybe they even try to run away and, kind of go away from the thing that is making them nervous. So what do you do in that situation? Because obviously your dog in those moments is telling you that they are uncomfortable and they don't want to be around that stuff. So what you do in those moments is you got to listen to your dog. All right. If your dog wants to go away from something, if your dog wants to move in the other direction away from something because they're nervous about it, let them do it. Why? It's because if you force your dog to get closer and closer to something that scares them, they're going to feel like they have no choice but to, approach that thing. And they're going to feel like they have to lash out if they're scared enough. That means growling, barking, snapping, even biting, and they could potentially redirect onto you or onto other people or dogs nearby because they're so scared that they they have to lash out. They're so scared by this display that they don't have any other option. They feel like they don't have any other option. But by letting them walk away and by letting them kind of decide that they've had enough, that they're too close to this thing that makes them feel nervous, they are going to feel better. They're not going to want to lash out. They're not going to want to growl or bark or bite or anything like that. Dogs don't want conflict. That's what it really comes down to. Dogs want to go away from things that scare them. And so that's the option that they're going to take. The problem is when a dog is on a leash, they are very aware of the fact that they can't run away. I say this a lot to a lot of my training clients. Just like people, dogs have a fight, flight, or freeze response. And the problem is when a dog is on a leash, they are very aware of the fact that they can't flight. They only have 6 feet of leash space to work with, and they can't go any farther from it. So they're more likely to default to either freezing or fighting. And this is true whether they're made nervous by another dog, a person, or a Halloween display. So there's that. And so if your dog decides I don't want to go near this inflatable thing, let them walk away. Go across the street where it's safe, where they feel safer. Go somewhere where they feel like they can be a little bit more comfortable. And you're doing in that moment, you're doing the best thing for your dog. You're making them feel better. You are making them feel like they can trust you to help them make good decisions. All right. The other thing about Halloween that I wanted to bring up was costumes. This is the time of year when we are bombarded by photos of dogs in costumes. And some dogs really like it. Some dogs really enjoy, wearing clothing. Especially, dogs that get cold very easily, things like that. Sometimes dogs just really like being in clothing. My dogs, on the other hand, do not. They don't like wearing clothes. And so, you don't want to force them into something that is going to make them feel uncomfortable. And that includes costumes. Yes, we all want our dogs to look cute on Halloween, but some dogs just aren't going to enjoy being in a costume. And in fact, even putting them in a costume for a very short amount of time and then taking a picture and then being done is enough to not make sure, but is enough to create a fear and sort of destroy some of the trust that has been built up between your dog and you. If they can't trust you to not do something that makes them uncomfortable, that wrecks trust. And you don't want to do that. You want your dog to trust that you're always going to have their best interests in mind, that you're always going to be trustworthy, that you're never going to do anything to them that they don't want to do. And that includes putting them in costumes. If you want to, sort of help acclimate your dog to the idea of putting on clothes or putting on a costume, that's fine. And actually, I'd be happy to work with you and help you figure that out if you want. But if your dog doesn't like wearing clothes or wearing things, don't make them wear things. Don't make them wear clothes. It's not fun for them, and the amount of joy that you get will be so small because you'll feel bad about making your dog feel uncomfortable. So just don't do it. All right, that is it for my little Halloween spiel. Thank you for listening. Remember, if you want to set up a training session or anything like that where we work on getting your dog acclimated to things like costumes or big Halloween displays, by all means, send me an email, bigwags@bigwagchicago.com. Thank you. Have a wonderful Halloween, and I will talk to y'all soon.